Tragedy struck in Abia State after 5 soldiers were attacked and killed on May 30 during a public holiday declared by the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. The holiday declaration by IPOB was to mark Biafra Day in honor of over 3 million Igbos who lost their lives in the Nigeria-Biafra Civil War. The military has confirmed the killing of the 5 soldiers and 6 civilians and said it would retaliate the attack. The soldiers were killed at Obika Junction in Obo Hill, according to video reports by multiple sources. In response, the Abia State government has placed 25 million naira bounty on the attackers. The military has also scaled up search for the culprits, killing 2 gunmen at a military checkpoint in Ohafia. To discuss the situation in the southeast, we have in the studio former Speaker of the Enugu State House of Assembly, Honorable Eugene Odo. Thank you, Mr. Eugene, for joining us for the program this evening. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So the developing story in the southeast, 5 soldiers killed. And this is not the first time. It sometimes is between the police and, unknown gunmen, as it is termed, or sometimes suspected members of IPOB. It seems that this is a symptomatic breakdown of law and order generally in the country. The other day it was Okwama in Delta State, and also recently we saw the attack of soldiers at Banex Plaza here in Abuja. So it's happening all over the country. What's your take on this particular incident in Abia State?
Good evening, viewers. I want to commiserate with the Minister for Defense, the Chief of Army Staff, and the defense chiefs in the country on these heinous laws. No human being will be happy seeing that the military that protects the entire nation, that has delved from external security for which they were constitutionally meant to protect, has delved into internal security. Nobody will be happy that they lose their life. May their respective souls rest in peace. But this actually is a reminder, because we need to look at the causes of the problem in the southeast. We need to look at what actually caused these very problems. And I could see that when the people of indigenous people of Biafra started, it was a very peaceful movement. In all Nnamdi Kanu has done in the process of sensitizing people for secession, he never used any gun. He never used any form of weapon. But unfortunately, this process has been hijacked. Because people has hijacked it, and especially miscreants, even when the young man had said openly, publicly, and even in writing, that look, I am not in support of anybody maiming and killing anybody in the southeast. But the likes of Simon Ekpa could not see any reason with that.
Okay. So now that you mentioned Simon Ekpa, he's somewhere in Europe living his life and dishing out orders from that part of the world to people that live in the southeast. And mostly he's being obeyed, or he has people that carry out his orders. Why do you think the southeast governors have not done something about Simon Ekpa specifically? Obviously, the man is powerful and people are listening to him on the ground.
Well, the southeast governors could appeal to the Attorney General or the President, because the law is very clear. What the federal government ought to do is to seek a way to extradite Simon Ekpa, because his actions and inactions far away in Finland has adversely affected the security of the southeast tremendously. And I want to believe that if the federal government can use the zeal with which Nnamdi Kanu was arrested in Kenya, I believe they could do something to bring Simon Ekpa to justice. because what actually he has done, he has caused a lot of problems, and those obeying his orders, as a matter of fact, are not even members of IPOB. These are miscreants, because the leadership of IPOB is Nnamdi Kanu. He has not surrendered that leadership to anybody, to the best of our knowledge. So whoever that is acting or even trying to, replace him or give orders on his behalf, I do not think that such person has such powers.
Okay, let's go back to the Biafra Day Declaration, May 30. So IPOB had put this together in order to honor the over 3 million Igbos that lost their lives in the Civil War. All over the world, people have Remembrance Day for fallen soldiers, for people who have given their lives for a cause. And do you think the Southeast governors should have been proactive to declare that day a public holiday so that it will lessen the conflict? And so in that sense, it doesn't necessarily mean that there will be a public holiday. It could be a laying of wreath. It could be any program or activity that they deem fit in order to honor the people that lost their lives.
Yes, naturally, when somebody loses anybody, be it your father, be it anybody you hold to high esteem, I think you can give reverence to the person, but that may not necessarily culminate in people not going to work. I actually wasn't happy with the announcement made by the governor of Abia, trying to give credence that he cannot stop people from mourning their dead people. Such person in a big authority ought not to make that kind of statement. And incidentally, you can see the outcome. That could have possibly been triggered or facilitated what happened in Abia. As a political, because people look up to you. I believe that people consciously or unconsciously, there's no family in Igbo land that has not lost one person or the other during the Civil War. And preventing people from going to market on that same day is not a way to mourn people. Preventing people from going to work, like in Enugu State, the governor of Enugu State was very, very unequivocal and direct on his stance on a sit at home. While reverence, he has made the president to facilitate, to see whether there could be a political solution for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. But notwithstanding that, he is of the opinion that losing about billions of naira on a daily basis, each day the sit at home was orchestrated.
So we're not talking about the Monday sit at home. A lot of people have criticized that. So it's the May 30th, one day to commemorate the people that lost their lives.
Yes, the Southeast governors could look into that. They could look into that and see whether there could be agreement. There's nothing wrong with that. But pending when they agree and declare such, no civilized nation will take orders from non-state actors.
So what do you think the Southeast governors are afraid of?
With respect to?
Whether it's IPOB, whether it's other actors in the region, it seems that they have been unable to get it together regionally, because the problem that is going on is beyond parties. They have to come together to find a solution. It looks like they have abdicated that responsibility.
Yes, the Southeast governors actually is a collegiate system not bounded by any law per se. The respective governments have their policies and whatever. However, they have Southeast Governors Forum. And I want to believe that the chairman of the forum should increase his ante in terms of service delivery to the people. The chairman, I don't think he has done too well to unite the Southeast. If you look at Ebubagu, you see that Ebubagu cannot be compared with Amotekun in the West. Ebubagu at a point was established, and even in Imo State at a point they started using it as a political witch hunt. Until date, it hasn't seen the light of the day. So I want to believe that the Southeast governors should sit down. If they want to declare public holidays on 30th of May, there's nothing wrong. But my position is that pending when they do that, it is not proper to see non-state actors give order and is being obeyed especially when the GDP of the Southeast is going down by the day.
So it seems like the Southeast suffers a leadership deficit, like other parts of Nigeria. There seems to be a disconnect between the leaders, the politicians, and the people. Apparently, most times they are out of touch and do not understand where the people are going, where they want to go, and sort of to feel the pulse. Do you see anything changing in this direction in that region?
Well, honestly, if you want to honestly assess the Southeast, you cannot assess the Southeast collectively. You assess the Southeast state by state. And I know that the governor of Ebonyi, in my own opinion, is doing very well.
But the problems we face are regional. They are not state by state, especially this insecurity and everything that is going on.
Yeah.
IPOB is all over that region.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that they have governors forum, and that is the only thing that appears to be unification in terms of leadership. The houses of assembly are not meeting together. The chief justices are not meeting together. The paraphernalias of government are not meeting together. The only people that meet in the Southeast are Southeast Governors Forum. And for the purposes of law and what it represents, it is a mere association. Yes, they could agree and give an order. Of course, people will obey. But the issue is that, for me, there is a leadership deficit, especially with regards to the leadership of APC governors. I mean, Conference of Governors of Southeast. There's a leadership deficit. I believe Governor Hope Uzodimma should actually, get back to drawing board and unite his colleagues, especially on these issues that could be envisaged, so that they can nip it on the board before it, it escalates beyond measure. You can imagine people losing three military men. Five people who were assigned to protect you. I can assure you that if you withdraw the military in the Southeast, it will literally be like a state of anarchy.
So now that you mentioned the military, there's also the view that there's a lot of military checkpoints across the region. And quite a number of these checkpoints are avenues through which people are extorted and abused and humiliated and harassed. And in some instances, people have to come down from the buses. They're made to walk distances with their hands raised over their heads. A lot that is going on. What do you say? What's your take on this and how the government can manage it so that the people do not feel that they are being oppressed in their own homeland?
There's nothing wrong with military being all over the places, but I think what we should be looking at is that the militaries are merely located and situated along the roads. We should expect them to strategize themselves on the hinterland, because if you find out most of the places where heinous attack were being meted on the people are soft targets. Most of those soft targets are in the rural areas. That is where I expected that they should be sparsely located. Of course, along the road, but not as to militarize the environment, no. But the presence of the military in our respective roads, I think, is quite necessary. And you can even see it. Even people are even advocating that there isn't enough presence of the police and even the army in the Southeast. So I do not see anything much about that. But most of the military are concentrated in the metropolis. I am advocating that they should go a little bit into the hinterland, because most of the even kidnappers, those who are attacking and maiming our people, do that mainly in the soft target areas. And metropolis appears even safer than those places.
Okay, two more questions before we go. When you look at the Nigerian Civil War topic, it's an issue that Nigeria shies away from discussing. And yet the wounds are deep, the agitations linger, and it looks like it's something that we cannot sweep under the carpet. What do you think the federal government can do in order to bring a sort of closure to this topic and also bring about healing for Nigeria?
Well, it appears that the war has stopped, but the influences and the effect of the war still lingers on. Even part of this insecurity we are talking of is about inequality in the Southeast. For instance, you can see how railways are built in almost all the regions of the country, and people who were known and are still known as being enterprising and commercially oriented, the Port Harcourt-Enugu-Maiduguri rail line, nobody's talking about it. So these people feel actually that they are marginalized. These people feel that the government do not represent them much. That is why at times they will even vent their anger on innocent people representing them. But as to whether or not the Southeast gets its due in this country, I believe that they do not. In all ramifications, if you go to public service, you can count how many people who are from that Southeast extraction who are permanent secretaries. And also generally in all public services, in all public service. So wherever there is inequality, wherever there is marginalization, there is normal restiveness, but that is not a criteria for them to go as far as killing the military or the police. They should find a way to address the issue of the Southeast. As to whether or not there is inequality, certainly there is. As to whether or not they get their due in the country, they do not.
This is where the governors probably have to work together in order to engage with the federal government. But very quickly, Nnamdi Kanu, you have advocated for his release. He is a problem while in prison. How do you think that if he's released, he will still not be a problem? A lot of the governors are afraid of him because he's very popular and more powerful than them.
You see, actually, it is high time we come to tell ourselves the truth. I've said it in this station and I'm repeating it again. The best thing for us to do is to find a political solution and citizens engagement dialogue to see how Nnamdi Kanu can be released. I can assure you that if Nnamdi Kanu is released today, the security problem in the Southeast will reduce by 70%. Because most of, even though he didn't send them, even though those people does not have his consent, but these are miscreants who has taken over what he was advocating and twisted it onto a negative phenomenon. And then claiming, you can imagine if you had listened to Simon Eber, he would be claiming that he is in touch with Nnamdi Kanu, but now of course everybody knows that he's not. They are miscreants. So we are pleading, the Johannese has actually volunteered even to, to sign him on bail. And a lot of prominent IPOB people have equally done so. So we advocate that this young man be released so that we can face, or that we have a lot of problems in Southeast. There's these former headers clashes, there is kidnapping clashes, there is even communal clashes within the Southeast. But prominent among them are people who are misrepresenting themselves as representing IPOB or agitating for the creation of Biafra. That is not the philosophy for which Nnamdi Kanu established the IPOB.
Okay. Honorable Eugene Odo, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.